This is Thriving Chiropractors, where chiropractors are supporting chiropractors and talking to chiropractors that are thriving beyond the four walls of their practice. This is Austin Cohen here at Thriving Chiros, and welcome to season 1. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Karen Ferguson here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey.
So super exciting, and someone who's been in the profession for a while. You've been a mentor to a lot of people, so thank you for taking the time to do this today.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
my
this.
pleasure. Yeah.
The big thing about Thriving Chiros is we really want to help chiropractors not just survive in practice, but we want to help them thrive, and that goes in a lot of different facets, where as far as business and professional, family, as well, and personal life. So we really want to get chiropractors to have a lot of experience and can share some value with us. And thank you again for doing this, by the way. So
thank you for asking.
And one of the questions I always love to start with is, when you look at your career in chiropractic and things you've done in your life, and you think of some of maybe the pivotal moments or pivotal decisions or changes you've made, could you share with the audience maybe something that you think had the biggest impact for you?
Well, that's kind of like a loaded and unloaded question. Yep. So the biggest impact is, there's a couple pivotal moments. One would be when I first went out into practice, and I came from a family of entrepreneurs. And you got to remember, back in 1995, there weren't podcasts and there wasn't Instagram and, the internet and everything like that. It was just sheer will, and then being able to reach out to people or going to the library or something like that, or listening to tapes and CDs and whatnot. So everything that I got was from going to seminars and whatnot. But I just was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like a lot of us go into chiropractic because we want to give, love, and serve. However, when opening doors, it's a business, and that side of myself was extremely weak. And even though I came from a family of entrepreneurs, I didn't know anything about running a business. And it was, thank goodness, I had very low overhead, and I feel like that's a mistake a lot of people make. I remember going into this place, and it was like $350 a month, which is unheard of. And that included electricity and plumbing and everything. It was only 350 square feet. However, so it was a low overhead. Because the biggest stress for people is money and so forth. And I had capital. I had a certain amount of money that I had borrowed from my parents to basically live off of and have the practice. And so I was trying to put it all together my way, but I didn't really know the business aspect. And so it was when I reached out for help. I was like, I'm either going to go become a teacher, or I'm actually going to ask for help because I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
And how long into practice was this?
Like 6 months.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because the funds were running out. And I was like, okay, because I wanted to have an all cash practice and all this other stuff. And it was like, no, you can bill for these things. Because when I was in school, I was like this professional student. So I didn't know what it was like to live in the real world. Now I do. People who pay money for insurance, if they have it, they want to be able to use it. So I grew up around hearing Reggie Gold and Sigafus and, all these people, like the box on the wall and this and this and this. And so making it affordable to give, love, and serve, that kind of thing. So I decided to listen to some people who reach out for help and listen to some people who were successful in practice. And okay, now tell me, put my ego aside and give me a roadmap of what I need to do, because my heart was in the right place and I trusted my skills as a chiropractor with my hands. Now it was communicating and being able to develop the business side. So that was that, and I ended up going to different seminars. I didn't sign up for one particular practice management because it wasn't this yearly thing. It was you can come if you want to, and I just chose to go to every single one. And I'm like, okay, even though this is uncomfortable and it's stretching me out of my comfort zone, don't reinvent the wheel, right? If it works for you, it's going to work for me, and it aligned with myself philosophically. So that was important to me as well, because it was always important for me to have a family vitalistic practice. It was just how to be able to do that.
I think a lot of people could relate, though, to this story. I mean, there's probably if you go to a class right now of chiropractors of 200 and you say, who here wants to open up their own practice when they graduate? Most are going to raise their hand. Yeah. And maybe most aren't designed actually at first to do that. Maybe at some point in their careers they are, yeah. But maybe it's good to get experience first. Can you look back though at when you went to those seminars and when you were studying mentors and when you were asking questions, can you look back and think things you took away from that time of study and that you took away where you said, this was what helped me grow?
Well, there's a couple things that helped me grow. So there's like the mechanical aspect of what helped me grow, which was having systems in place. So these are the systems, and these are systems that are repeatable. Starbucks has a system. You learn, okay, if you want this, you've got this drink has so many shots of this and this and this and pumps and whatnot. So it was implementing those systems that regardless of the volume that we would be able to handle. So we wanted to be like working smarter and not necessarily harder. And then what was the question again?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking back, like what were some of those systems or what were some of the takeaways from the seminars or some of the mentors? I'm sure you made some changes in the practice, of course, like that helped grow it because, you've been doing it since 95, so you've been successful.
So it was like the systems would be, it's like, well, one, I didn't have a problem going out in the community. Back then, again, we didn't have podcasts and other different social media. So it was like literally knocking on doors. It was having anything that I could do in the community, any event, whether it be at a Kroger or whether it be at a Babies R Us or whatever it was. So I had no problem talking to people and getting them in the door, but it's how to keep them in the door. And just my sheer passion for chiropractic wasn't enough. It was about the way that I communicated and becoming a master communicator. I've seen chiropractors that are phenomenal in their technique. However, if the communication is lacking and being able to connect and really have that person inside have a revelation and aha moment of that our office is creating a solution for a problem that somebody has. And it's being able to connect with them for them to really truly understand of what that is. And so when they realize that this is what that is, then going from there. So it was having a system to be able to take a person from the moment they walk in the door to the everyday visit and having those systems in place and how to communicate from the people who are answering the phone calls. In the beginning, it was I did everything, and now it's hiring people who can do those things that are an extension of myself and represent, the whole practice as a whole. So that was one pivotal moment. So those are all the mechanics. And then the other part would be like the heart, the drive, the desire, the vision of the unseen things that I feel contribute to success. And the pivotal moment is who I am as a person matters and puts out this quantum physics, these energy waves, right? And so another pivotal moment would be probably 3 or 4 years ago before I went through my divorce with my first husband. And together, I was in practice by myself for 5 years, and then he joined me after he graduated chiropractic school and whatnot. And I got really good at making things happen, like implementing systems, and it was drive. And I see a lot of other chiropractors do this and, build the success of what we feel success looks like that's been modeled to us by not only chiropractors, but other people in general. Society as success is, being able to pay my bills and being able to, walk in and know that, this practice is in the green kind of thing. That's success. And I have, the house, the kids, and all that other stuff. However, it was coming from a space, even though I was thinking it was coming from the heart, it was very much of the head. I had a huge pivotal moment was when I decided to learn more about who I was and connecting and clearing the subluxations within inside of me.
Wow. And
that was a huge transformation of when I started going that instead of making things happen, I'm going to do this differently. So then when we divorced and I was continuing on in this practice that I, bought through the settlement of the divorce and everything, I always felt like I was the one, if you're talking about bicycle racing, in front of the peloton, and everybody's like, okay, follow me. And that's like what I saw at like DE and people standing on stage, and you have all this enthusiasm, which I had all this enthusiasm, but it gets exhausting, and I see this with with the people that we serve in the practice, as well as I see this with other chiropractors, why it can either lead to burnout or whatnot is because I was so good at serving and giving, but I was a terrible receiver. And that's not in balance in life. There's day, there's night, there's summer, there's winter, so there's seasons of ourselves. And I was so busy just being busy and focusing on achievement because that's what has been modeled to me throughout my life. And for most people, that I didn't stop and get silent and go inside of myself and am I feeling joy and what is my intention and bringing in this quantum physics and this spirituality into it.
Well, we talk about as chiropractors, right? Above, down, inside out. And I think a lot of chiropractors, unfortunately, are living outside in. And you're right. I mean, there's a couple things of takeaways that I think that are important. I have 2 kids also. We talked about this earlier. And as I've gone in practice of what I thought was important when I first graduated to what's important to me now, very different. And how I define success is extremely different now than it was 15 years ago. Yeah. And you're right. Like the things I see in burnout, there's 16 doctors on my team. And the number one thing I tell them is I say, the most important thing to you right now is to find friends and have hobbies. Yeah. Because if you don't have friends and you don't have hobbies, you're right, you'll burn out. Mm-hmm. And you got to have relationships that matter and create experiences with those relationships. And so, you're dead on. I hope people are listening to this thinking, like, is that me, right? Like not getting sucked down this like rabbit hole of just pushing and pushing and pushing. And then you get to the end and for what?
Right. Right. It's like, okay, 100 a week and 200 a week and 300 a week and 400 a week. It's like this never enough. And so I signed up with, I've been a lifelong personal growth and development person in the last, 35 years. And for me, it's always like, I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to go to the people who've been doing this for a really long time and have them mentor me and guide me and ask me the hard questions and not let my ego be able to figure out the answers that they want to see, and to really peel back those layers and really be from a space of groundedness and joyfulness from the inside out. And that's what really matters. And that's what I talk to a lot with the peak interns that come in the office and whenever I'm at Life University, because it's first the relationship with myself, the relationship with the divine, and then it's the relationship that I have in my life that's really super important. And if we do put people first, right, then everything else starts to matter that much more and things flow smoothly. So instead of it being I'm in front and everybody else is following me behind, it truly is synergy, and it's a we-go thing. It's team-oriented. It's very much more vitalistic. So it's not only vitalism that I talk in the office to the people that we're serving, and encouraging, teaching them what vitalism is for their own life, but it's vitalism in how I run a business. And that's very, very different compared to I want everybody on board. Everybody's energy matters. And so we are one big family. And you sound very clear, which is great. I remember I was 2 years in practice, and I remember I went 2 weeks in a row, and I had all these new patients coming in, and none of them were committing to care because we do care plans. And I called my coach, and I was really frustrated about this. And I was like, man, what do I need to do different? I'm so frustrated. I'm really upset with myself right now. And he said, first off, he's like, are you a chiropractor? I was like, yes. He's like, you sound like the biggest outside-in thinker. You're letting these outside circumstances influence you on the inside right now. Right. And, it's like so many chiropractors, we do that. We compare ourselves to other chiropractors and look at them on Instagram. And now we have all these things like social media. And rather than being like you've been working on personal development, like just being strong on the inside. And that helps you with the outside. Well, and it comes down to also self-love, self-acceptance. It is this, I'm enough. It's really dealing with, everybody's been wounded as a child. It doesn't matter who you are or what it looks like on the outside. But for me, the pivotal moment was dealing and healing the childhood wounds, having forgiveness and for myself, for other people, and that in and of itself becoming more authentic. And people resonate with authenticity. And so it's just, so my life has just become so much richer. I've got 4 adult kids now from ages 20 to 29. And my 29-year-old was, he was born, he was 6 months old when I graduated from chiropractic school. And I say, for my kids, defining success to me and for them is about, I want you to have joy in your life and feel just a sense of contentment and calm and ease, be able to go from parasympathetic mode to sympathetic mode, but really feel grounded and balanced in your life and have enough money to pay your bills. That to me is what success is, because what I see and what I got caught up in is the outside in. It was more of sympathetic mode, sympathetic dominance, because when living in the suburbs anyway, it's achievement, go, 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 go. And I talk about this on the reg, with everybody in the practice, because I feel like it's the number one thing that resubluxates adults, and then it imprints into their children. So these families that we're taking care of. And it's teaching this mental health, because when mental health is off, and that comes with just being a genuine person, self-acceptance, and really living from the inside out, which means not caring what other people think, and being a good human being and owning my own emotions. And if that means if I get all upset, I need to look inside of myself. Nothing or no thing can make me upset unless I allow it to.
And I'm sure in 1995, this wasn't the mindset, by the way.
No.
And so I guess my question is, you've talked about, shedding down the ego to ask for help, self-love, joy, core values, defining success, right? We talked about all those things. And, how long would you say in practice it took you before you actually felt like I've got joy? I feel like I'm living inside out. Estimate.
Well, on a day in and day out. But if you would have asked me in my 20s or my 30s, I would have said I had joy. It was this unconscious thing because I didn't know what it felt. It's kind of like asking somebody how they're feeling and they've never been adjusted before. And that's their normal, right? And then they start to get adjusted, and it's like, oh, those normal headaches went away, or I'm able to go to sleep and stay asleep. So I thought I was very joyful and that I was living from the inside out. But it's I was very much of listen to Oprah Winfrey, because she was always I called her my spiritual mama. But she's first you get the little tink aside the head, and then you get the little rock, and then you get the brick, and then you get the whole brick wall. So the whole brick wall was when I had been in practice maybe 20 years or so.
Wow.
And that was when I was going through my divorce, because it's that's a whole brick wall. I had to all right, what's everybody going to think? I had to finally be all right, either keep holding this image together, or just let it all fall by the wayside and just shatter. And it was the phoenix rising up from the ashes. What am I taking with me and moving forward? What's working, and leaving behind what's not working? And that's a paradigm shift as well.
I love this so much, because, like I said, I've been in practice for 15 years, and still sometimes I'll get together with friends, and they want to talk about, man, they're just bragging, right, about how much they see, visits they see, which is very common in this profession. And in my head, I'm like, dude, how are the kids? What are you guys doing this summer? What experiences are y'all doing as a family together? And it's because to me, that matters.
Yeah.
We're all going to be here one time on this earth. For most of us believe that. And it's let's enjoy it and shed these egos and start living inside out. And we all know that's the way to live. That's the principle of chiropractic, which is the way.
And then if I'm living inside out and you're living inside out, and you're being real and authentic with the people that you're serving like I am, then that gives them permission to do the same. And then that helps to elevate their own energy inside of themselves, which then decreases the amount of the nerve interference that's going on, because it's all just particles and waves and whatnot. And so, it's we sat down and we had our staff meeting yesterday, and we talk about numbers, but also what matters is each person as an individual. I want my staff to love coming in to the office. It's a way of life, that this is something that they love coming to, and that if they aren't, that there's a little fire. I'm we're like roommates. There's going to be things that, might annoy us, but it's let's talk about what's not working so that we can correct even that subluxation. And so that makes it more joyful, because there's a lot of chiropractors that, they can have these successful million-dollar businesses and having several ones, but maybe their staff isn't enjoying working for there. They're just feeling like they're running through the mud. And it's like they can have all these things to show like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And it's like, it was great from the outside in. We get the, yeah, we got 200 a day. And it's so short-lived versus like the intention from the inside out. What's the intention? If the intention is, people first and inner contentment and joy and everybody around is having a good time, and that they're not feeling stressed when they're working and we're reaching 200 a day or whatever it is, that to me, it's more of everybody is like, that's so much more rewarding.
I hope joy is a core value of yours, because that word has come up many times in this conversation, which I love.
Joy is the inside.
Yeah.
Joy versus happiness is the outside, external circumstances. Yeah. This external circumstance is making me happy. This external circumstances is making me unhappy. I choose to have whatever circumstances is happening is to be content on the inside, to radically accept what's going on. I don't have to like it, like breaking my foot, or when my son, we were on the boat on Sunday and he runs over the rock, is like, "Kunk." I'm like, okay, that's not good. Instead of that getting me upset, and it's like, okay, this is going to be a big bill and this and that. We're not going to be on the lake anymore and all this stuff. It's like, no matter what, is like, is my relationship with my son and my relationship with myself is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Things are things and they can be fixed. And in this moment, what matters is how I feel. So I choose to feel contentment. I choose to feel ease. And because I've lived a different way and I know what that feels like, and that rattles my nervous system, and which is a symptom to say, hey, course correct.
Listen, this was a very different conversation than we've had with different people, which is great.
I told you it was going to be different.
I love it, though, because I think if you take this conversation, to me, this is like the B conversation.
The what?
The B, like part of like the B, like B plus do equals have.
Okay.
Right? And so you can't just do things and expect to have the results you're going to have, right? Like you got to become the person, like you're talking about. Right? You got to find joy in self-development and self-love and all these things. Otherwise, like you said, they're short-lived.
Yeah.
You see 200 a day, you're right. Like, then what?
Yeah.
And I love this. So to me, it's just this balance of this conversation and also like tactical stuff, I think is just really creates such a good level of success. So.
Yeah. And then there's the B of like the rah B, right? Yeah. And I was that way. And the difference between, I didn't even know what that was, like getting into my body, like really feeling and dropping down into my heart and what that felt like, because I was so used to being conditioned of hype and having all this high energy, which I can do and be like, yeah, jumping up and down and whatnot. However, day-to-day life and day-to-day living, and so like when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to other chiropractors or whatnot, I'm like, no, I want to know you. I want to know who you are behind all of that. So I want to connect with you on a deep level and, know you're authentic. I want to know you authentically. Oh. And that's what I know the people in the office appreciate. Who I am here is the same who I am when I'm in the office communicating with staff, or the way I am at home with my kids and whatnot. It doesn't change.
So many nuggets today. Thank you so much for being here, by the way, Dr. Karen. This is awesome. Thank you so much. And this is Thriving Chiros and Season 1. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully you got a lot of gems today from Dr. Karen.